Hi, I'm Melissa Cable with Create Recklessly, and I'm here to teach you how to set hardware in leather. The first hardware that we're going to look at today are eyelets. In the Create Recklessly line, we have 3 different size eyelets, as you can see here, a 1/4 inch, 3/16 inch, and 3/32 inch. Now those sizes denote the size of the actual eyelet itself, the tube in the back that is going to extend into your leather. The 3/32 eyelet in the line actually has 2 different sizes. This is the smaller one. We also have a longer one, so if you're stacking pieces of leather on top of each other and you want to attach them into the leather, you have more material to go through the different layers. Now that brings us to a good point, is how do you use eyelets? What are they for? So eyelets don't always need to be about attaching things. So for example, in this design here, the eyelets are used to attach and as a decorative accent across the bracelet. In this design right here, they're really only there to serve as a great negative space on these individual white panels. And then finally in this design back here, you can see we've used eyelets on the end to attach a metal piece to the leather. So again, eyelets can be very functional to attach things to the leather, or it can be an aesthetic choice that you're using to add a little pop of metal to your pieces. So let's take a look at how to set them. The only difference with setting eyelets into faux leather from setting it into leather is that you want to start with a different hole size. So for example, here's our 1/4 inch eyelet. When we combine it with a washer, it's actually called a grommet, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and keep calling it an eyelet so that we have some consistent terminology. Normally in leather, we would take our corresponding 1/4 inch hole punch and punch a hole to accommodate this eyelet. But when we're using faux leather, because it has just a tiny bit of stretch, again, not as much stretch as a lot of other faux leather, which is why I like this particular one, we want to go down a size. So instead of our 1/4 inch hole, I'm going to take it down to the 3/16 inch hole. And that's going to allow me to be able to stretch the leather to accommodate this eyelet. So let's go ahead and see. I'm going to put this in here and you'll see we get a good tight fit. Now I went ahead and set these without smaller holes and without another trick I'm going to show you in a moment, just so you could see. With the traditional 1/4 inch hole, you can see I can stretch that leather and the eyelet is going to be popping right out of there. So you really want to avoid that so you have a good, strong design. This is one of the reasons we use a smaller hole. Now another trick to help eyelets stay really strong in your faux leather is to back your leather. And here you can see I've glued on a piece of ultra suede. And we've done another video that talks about the types of glues and things to use. So be sure to check that video out and understand how to apply a backing. Ultra suede is less stretchy than the faux leather. So when I stretch it, it's going to minimize the stretch. And that's going to allow your eyelets to stay stronger. So for example, on the back of this one, you can see I've backed it with faux leather. And these eyelets are going nowhere. They're really nice and strong in there. And then finally, another way the eyelet stays in, especially with this 1/4 one, is by turning it into a grommet. And again, a grommet is simply an eyelet that has a washer over it. And our 1/4 inch eyelets, which have the most tendency to want to pull out in stretchy materials, come with the grommet. So you'll just position it over the top of the eyelet. So let's move these out of the way and go ahead and set it. So in order to set this eyelet, the first thing we're going to do is take our large eyelet setter out of our kit and screw it onto our handle. After you have your tool prepared, you're going to go ahead and get your mini anvil. And notice again, there's a concave side and a flat side. And we're going to use the flat side since the head of our eyelet or our grommet is flat, and place it on the anvil and prepare to set it. Now you will notice that I did move our anvil onto the table and not onto the surface, our work surface. And that's on purpose. The work surface will cause more bounce and you will not be able to set your hardware as effectively if you work on your work surface. So when using your anvil, be sure to place it on a good steady surface. But keep in mind, if you're working on your dining room table, you can damage your table by hammering onto this. So put it on something that's going to protect your work surface. I'm going to place our eyelet setter on top of the eyelet and then give it a few hits with your hammer. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you don't want to set these too fast. One big hit is going to potentially split your eyelet. So you want to do a couple firm strikes in order to set it slowly and to get the end of the eyelet to roll over the top of the washer we placed on it. And now you'll notice that we have an eyelet that is nicely rolled on the end, so it's smooth against your skin, but it is holding down this washer here that's going to keep your eyelet from popping through. And the finish on the front still looks beautiful and perfect. So we're going to set all of our eyelets in the same manner. Let's go ahead and do that so you get a chance to watch it a few times. So here's our 3/16 inch eyelet. I particularly like this eyelet when I'm attaching things together, as I did our necklace up here, because the jump rings fit in there really easily. So now I'm going to take this eyelet and once again turn it upside down onto our anvil. Now the 1/4 inch eyelet tends to pull through the leather a little less because it's smaller, so we don't necessarily need to have the washer on it. However, notice I'm working on a surface that's backed, again with the ultra suede, in order to keep it from stretching. This brings me to the point of when to do backing. In this particular case, because we're working with faux leather that has a tiny bit of stretch, I like to use the backing, but sometimes if I'm using other materials such as a firm leather that's not going to have as much stretch, I may not use a backing on it and I'll just apply it directly. So the backing is a good trick when it comes to the stretch of your material. So we're going to go ahead and switch out to our medium eyelet setter. Again, all of the tools in the Create Recklessly kit are labeled, so it's really clear what we need. And we're going to give it the hammer a couple strikes. And once again, we have an eyelet that's set really well, and you can see it's going nowhere through that faux leather and ultra suede. And let's finish with our smallest eyelet. This is our 3/32 eyelet, stretching it into that hole. One thing I do want to mention about the hole for the 3/32 eyelet is you'll notice we talked about how I went down in size for the hole for each of these eyelets. Now the smallest hole size in the Create Recklessly kit is 3/32, so we wouldn't be able to go down smaller. So in this particular case, I really like to use the sewing punch on the largest hole on the platform to create this hole here. I find in the faux leather, it makes the perfect size hole to be able to stretch in a 3/32 eyelet. So let's do that, and then we'll go ahead and set that one. So again, we're going to take off our head, and you see they screw off very easily, and switch to our small eyelet head. Place it over the top. And again, I'm using the 3/32 eyelet. That's the shorter version because I'm not connecting things together in this case. I'm simply putting it in as a decorative accent. So I don't want to have excess material up here to try and set. So I picked the shortest one available. A couple good strikes. And here we go, once again, another eyelet that's nice and set. I'm going to show you another way to set eyelets in a way that's very strong. With the 1/4 inch eyelets, we can use the washer to increase the strength. But with the 3/16 and 3/32, we have another trick up our sleeve, and that's using the splayer. The splayer is another head in the interchangeable toolkit, and you'll see it looks kind of like a flower shape on the top. What the splayer will do is take the eyelet and split it into many arms that are going to reach out and grab onto that leather. So we're going to set it using our anvil on the flat side, since the surface of our eyelets are flat. and carefully position it. Now it's really important to get them centered and to work straight down when you're using this tool so you get a nice even split. And as you'll see, it split the arms into really even little pieces that again grip around onto that faux leather. But you'll also notice it's a really pretty decorative look. So feel free to set your eyelets from the surface of your leather and have a whole little collage of flowers across the top of your leather. Now you'll notice the splayer is stuck a little bit on here. This is the only head that I ever have the need to use the Allen wrench in. And that's because each of these little arms are grabbing onto that and wanting to tighten our tool as we're working. And so you simply place the Allen wrench into the hole and give it a little grab and it'll easily come off. It's a really good use of the splayer to make a strong connection and to make a beautiful connection. Again, eyelets are really one of the most versatile hardware pieces that you can use in leather and faux leather. Whether you're using it as a decorative accent or using it to connect things together, it's a really firm connection that will give you lots of opportunities to play with different materials and combine them in any way that you'd like. So thanks for watching, and I hope you have a chance to set some eyelets soon, and be sure to check out our other hardware videos on cap rivets and spots. Thanks for watching.